Jesse. Thank you so much for actually reaching out and saying yes to be interviewed on my podcast. I really appreciate it. My name is Nicolette, and I am the creator for the podcast of You're Worthless. Read that again. Juxtaposition of your very soul. It's a bit long, but yeah. So I just want to check which part of the world are you from, Jesse?
Which one? Sorry.
Which part of the world are you
Oh, which
actually?
part of the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, and I currently live in a little town just about 45 minutes north of California called Camarillo.
Okay, I don't know, but it sounds fun. Okay, so you originally from California all the way, like since you
Yes.
were okay. So I'm from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So it's a it's a distance from the other
Yeah,
side of the world, but yeah. Well, technology. Thank you.
of
So okay.
course.
So let me give you a little bit of our listeners a bit of introduction about yourself, and then we can dive deeper into that.
Perfect.
So, hi everyone. Thank you for listening. So, we have here Jassy Jackson, who holds a master's of science in psychology, and with over 15 years of being a leader in her own right. She is also a master Reiki practitioner and a trained shaman. Her expertise extends into the profound terrains of energy healing and divination. So, to be honest, this is the very first topic for me on the podcast to talk about spirituality. All of my podcast episodes, I don't know if you've heard any of them, were me trying to just share my story and just trying to make sense of um, whatever that I was feeling. Uh, other people experiencing the same thing, or maybe in their own situation circumstances. So this is a topic that is very close to my heart, because I felt like spirituality is where I found myself again.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yes, Jesse, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive deep into some of the questions?
Yeah, of course. I myself spent a lot of time trying to figure out who I was in this world and how I wanted to show up. And I spent so much of the time worrying about other people and worrying about the to-do list on what I was expected to do in society. And, a few years back, about 8, 10 years ago, I finally figured it out by going inward and really, I did the psychology thing and I really love the skills that I got from that, but it wasn't until I started the Reiki, like receiving Reiki myself and looking for alternative ways and the ways that my ancestors did things, that things didn't really click for me. And now I've gone from being 100% in pain every single day. I had fibromyalgia for 20 plus years because I was living inauthentically and I didn't know how to regulate my nervous system. And now to not feeling any pain every single day. And so spirituality, and having that balance between, being here on earth in this time
In
and
3D
participating.
and as well as the
Yeah,
spiritual
and being
realm,
here,
right? We really need
right?
to talk about that because, to be honest, I'm still struggling on how to balance that, and I need help. I need some insights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We can definitely dive into that. And it's work every single day, but it doesn't feel like work because now I'm fully and completely integrated into my practices and it's still evolving.
Wow. Brilliant. So, okay, I was reading your profile and I saw that you in the corporate life before you started, and well, this leads me to my question: that how was your journey in terms of your academic and then also your career?
Yeah, so growing up, in the beginning, like middle school type of thing, I wasn't always a great student, but I wanted to be. And I didn't figure that out until junior high. I remember my grandpa like sitting me down and giving me this huge lecture about the importance of studying and the importance of
Where
how
you
I'm
need to be
showing
in
up.
the society, right? Because if you
Yeah.
don't study, you're not gonna fare well, and well, you're gonna be left behind. Oh, yeah.
Exactly,
So
exactly. And so
yes,
that gave me a lot to think about. And so then that's really when a lot of my stress and anxiety happened, right? And then I became a really good student and I was an overachiever. I started college when I was 13
mm.
and
Wait,
I
13.
I was
Wow.
13 and my first fibromyalgia pain came when I was 15. And so that really started this overachieving type of like, now I have to like beat myself and now I have to be better and better every year. And by the time I was 25, I was just like really lost in who I was. I was full of pain. I didn't finish college until I was 30. And I kind of knew that that was going to happen because I was so focused on my career. I found this really great job in corporate America. And I decided that, I was still going to go to school, but I also wanted to climb that corporate ladder. And I did that
Yeah,
really quickly. And I was able to, I had the biggest office in the building. I was running teams. I showed up every single day to be the best that I was going to be. And one day I just had a complete meltdown and a breakdown because I was looking at my life. I had gotten married. I was pretty successful by, 25, 26-year-old standards. I did all the things, but yet I was so sad every single day. I was crying to work. And then I would wipe off my tears in the car, and then I would put on the smile, and I would go into work and do it all over again the next day. And I was in so much pain from head to toe. And finally, someone had told me about their rehab experience. They went into rehab, they wanted to cure themselves of alcoholism, and they told me about the Reiki that they did at the institution. And, I wasn't really paying attention to it. But after I had my breakdown, I decided that, I had been in therapy for a long time. I was doing all the things. So I needed to try something different.
yeah, yeah.
And
You just needed to
from
get
that
on something just to let go of the pain or whatever it is that you're experiencing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's the key, right? The true key to change is changing who we are. You can't keep on doing the same things over and over again and then expecting for it to magically change one day. And so after I tried Reiki for the first time, I was on this path of like, what else can I experiment with? What else is out there? What did my ancestors used to do? And then I started to learn about grounding and meditation and breath work and all the things that I do these days, right? And it really changed fundamentally how I showed up every single day. And at some point, after I like changed my diet, I fixed my gut issues, first of all. I
Yeah,
really started to look at like emotional freedom tapping and looking at my meridians and and going to acupuncture. I really started to go inward and started to listen to myself. And one day in 2021, not that long ago,
yeah,
I woke up
yeah. The
with a
COVID time. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I woke up and I did not feel any pain. So that for me was a huge win, and I knew that I was on the right track. And so now I'm continuing to expand. That's how I got to study under a shaman or a shamanic practitioner, and I'm continuing to evolve my practices.
Wow. Amazing. So to be honest, okay, forgive me. I've read about Reiki. I've heard of Reiki and read about it a little bit, but I never actually understood what it meant.
Yeah.
What is Reiki actually? Can you like break it down in simple terms for for my listeners to to actually try to grasp that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So Reiki is a form of energy healing that originated from Japan. There
Ah,
is a
okay.
doctor, yeah, Dr. Mikao Sui is actually the founder of Reiki. And essentially what happened, I think he was like in his 40s and he had his own practice. He was a doctor and he was looking for something deeper, something more, right?
Mhm.
And he did this like 3 week kind of excursion up into a mountain out in Japan.
It's like
And
being like in Tibet, like Dalai Lama. Is it
yeah,
something similar? Okay.
something very
Okay.
similar, right? It was very spiritual for him. He went up there by himself and he actually broke his foot on
Oh.
his way up. And as he meditated up there, he got these like this vision of like the
Mhm.
chakras, what I think are the chakras. They describe it as like bubbles and they had like geometric shapes.
And
And in my
color.
mind, they were like the chakras, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was able to actually heal his own foot through this Reiki transmission that was coming through him. And he was able to come down the mountain with a completely cured foot. And then there was this woman named Takata who would walk by his studio every single day. She was visiting her parents from Hawaii out there, and she was really ill. And she was going to him every single day. And then after all of her treatments, she was actually perfectly fine. So it's a form of like moving energy through the body in a way that has never been it doesn't happen in like the Western world, right? It's a very Eastern type of medicine, and it's all through intention and also the abilities of the practitioner. So you have to get an attunement, you have to learn what the hand positions are, you have to understand the intention behind it, and also the person receiving the Reiki has to have some sort of level of belief, has
Mhm.
to be open to receiving, has to be ready for that change, right? And so you learn how to transmit this Reiki energy through your body as a practitioner and be able to move the patient's or the client's energy along with it. When I first got a Reiki, I'll admit I didn't really believe in it, but I was open to it because I was ready for a change and I needed to do something within
And it,
that I hadn't done before, right? And
yeah.
when I laid on that table, I saw colors behind my eyes the way that I do when I meditate these days. I felt my stress just kind of melt away. And for days after, I felt pretty lethargic because the energy was still moving through me. After you get a Reiki done, the energy moves through you for about 3 or 4 days and it continues to work on you. And so it's a little bit around intention, but also the skills of the practitioner in like channeling that energy and being able to move that energy within your body.
So it's like Tai Chi. I'm not,
It is.
it's like all because all of the movements, this is actually about energy, right? And they say your hands actually are the portals. If only
Mm-hmm.
you know.
They
See, I know.
are.
Yeah, it's like I know this. I know this is like I do read, but it's the going towards that path and really immersing myself in it. But thank you, Jesse. I think you have unlocked something within me that I need to go and explore.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a quite an important question. So since we talk about becoming a Reiki, like, so what was that pivotal moment that made you want to go into practice as a Reiki practitioner, and how did you become one? Did you go to Japan or did you have it in the US? How is it?
Yeah, so there's a lineage that happened. So if you remember in my story, there's this woman named Takata who
Yeah.
who got healed by him, and she actually brought it over to the Western world. So the hub of Reiki really is
Uh,
Japan, but she brought it over to Hawaii, and a lot of the practitioners here on the mainland are of that lineage from Takata, and so there's like this whole thing, like this whole like family tree, if you will, that has come down from her. And really, I started receiving Reiki in 2015, and in 2019 I had made the decision. Something had evolved so much in me within those 3 4 years that I decided that I wanted to learn about more about Reiki, and I wanted to experience it as a practitioner, but I didn't necessarily want to make a business out of it, at least not at the time.
yeah.
And so I took my classes, and then what happened the next year? COVID happened.
Mm,
And so more and more people started asking for it, more friends, more family members were referring me out. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't expect to make this a business, but I opened up my own little spot because I really didn't want people in my home based on what was happening in the world,
yeah.
and I started offering it. And so really I am still in the corporate world. So
You're still
9 to
working.
5, I'm
Oh,
still working, but I
okay.
have more of a balance these days. I
Mm,
am able to give back to my community. I'm able to, I also do this online because it's possible to do it online because energy doesn't understand time and space. So,
thank you. Yes, I need to quote that. Energy doesn't understand time and space. Yes.
exactly. And so I it just evolved over time. I believe that this was the path that I needed to do because now instead of working 15, 18-hour days in corporate America, I literally only work 8 to 10 hours, and then I'm able to transition into my practices and sharing with community and being with community. And that's really what fills my cup and brings me joy.
Brilliant. So you're still working. This is the reason why I asked, because some of the questions I'm going to ask will be related to me as well. And I'm sure a lot of people, they do want to dip their toes inside the spiritual world, but they just don't know how to juggle between the 3D world where they need to still find their means because they have bills to pay, like myself. But they still they do want to do that. So I think it's really amazing to have you online for you to actually teach some of this insights, share some of these insights. So, okay, on to the next questions. In your own words, what does spiritual journey look like?
Yeah, I think it's different for every single person, right? I think that it depends on how ready you are, where you're at in your own spiritual journey from a soul perspective, the things that you've experienced in different lives, at different moments in this life, and also what you're willing to do, because the things that I'm willing to experience these days are very different than the things that I wanted to experience or I was willing to experience 10 years ago, right? Like, if you talk to me about going to a ceremony 10 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know what that is. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
These days, like, if you invite me to a ceremony, I'm all there, right? So I think it looks very different for every person. But I think what's important is to be open to new experiences. That when something shows up for you, like for example, if you've never heard of Reiki and you're all of a sudden dialing
Mm,
into this conversation, this is
yeah.
probably a sign for you that maybe it's something to explore, something to be open to. Maybe you can start Googling it and finding a practitioner near you. Or if you really enjoyed this conversation, you can reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it, right? And maybe trying it out and experiencing it. And then
Uh-huh.
that will actually open up the door to something else. And then something else will come along. I think most people try to meditate first because that's the thing that's in mainstream. Like,
Yeah, that's like
meditate,
okay, the
meditate.
door to spirituality. They say okay, first you gotta quiet your your mind by meditating. I know that that's you can't just switch off your thoughts like that, but again, people know they need to do it, but they just don't know how to do it. Like, how do we start?
Yes, and what I will say to that is you don't actually have to start with meditation. I
Okay.
tried over and over and over, and it just wasn't working to the point where I started believing like maybe spirituality isn't for
Is it
me
for
because I
me?
can't
Yeah.
do it. Right? And it wasn't until I actually started doing Reiki that I then got deeper into my meditations.
Mm,
It was, and then when I started breath work, I got even deeper into my meditations. So you can try different forms of meditation.
there's
You
no
can
one
do
size fits all then.
no, not at all. You gotta look for what works for you. And the only way to do that is to actually experiment with it. So you can try a breathwork class and see what happens there. And maybe you experience these incredible things and you can continue breathwork and then incorporate some meditation into that. Because breathwork is very different. Breathwork, instead of quieting your mind, what you're doing is you're actually inviting thoughts in. So it's the opposite of that.
Ah,
So it's really incredible to try new things. You mentioned Tai Chi. Tai Chi can also be a very beautiful form of meditation, and it allows you to calm your mind. I tried sewing like with a machine, and
yeah.
that to me was very meditative because all I was doing was like trying to pin the things together and I wasn't thinking of anything else. It was very meditative. I sometimes golf with my husband. Golf is a great way to meditate because all you're thinking about is where's my ball? Where did
Yeah.
my ball go?
Yeah.
So there are so many different ways that you can try quieting your mind down and trying different formats of meditation. The other thing I will say is I completely changed my morning routine. So I used to be somebody that would wake up and just take my phone and start scrolling, start
Yeah.
looking at work, start,
Guilty of
and,
that. Guilty.
right?
When's my first meeting?
Yep. So what I started doing is before like when I would start getting ready for bed, I would look at my calendar and be like, okay, when's my first meeting tomorrow? Okay, it's at 7:30 a.m. So I'm gonna wake up at 5 so I have enough time to get ready, to do my morning routine. Or maybe I'll decide to do my morning routine after my first meeting or whatever. And then I drink my cacao. So, cacao is a beautiful way to connect with Mother Earth, to connect with your heart, to open up your heart. So, there's a lot of supplements out there that you can also start with. So, if breath work and Tai Chi and golf isn't your thing, that's okay. You can look at different supplements that's out there. If health is your thing, you can look at ways to connect with Mother Earth and I maybe do go and do a workout, or if it's not a workout day, then I'll do a meditation or a breathwork class. So I do take time for myself in the morning before I even look at my phone. And then the last thing that I do is I look at my phone, I get ready for my meeting, and then, I'll jump on. But the key is to spend enough time with yourself and taking care of yourself. I like to think of like I'm now a professional self caretaker because that is exactly what you need to do, or in my opinion, what all of us need to do in order to really step fully and completely into our spirituality. Because once we fill our cup up in such a way, then you're able to show up for everybody else and be there for everybody else and do what is needed and expected in this 3D world.
Beautiful. I have a question. But why do sometimes people, when I say people, me, sometimes I do feel guilty, like taking care of myself first or just putting myself directly into work because, okay, I need to be super ready, 100%, 200% for this, whatever meeting that I'm gonna go into. Like,
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. So the first one that comes to mind is that we've been so successful in the way that we've been operating. We know in our minds, or we think in our minds, that that is what works. We
Yeah.
show up,
Yeah.
we get the paycheck. We've
Yeah.
gotten here in to a certain extent.
Now, like, yeah, where I'm saying it's because of the paycheck, and I've got to give back because it's like your worth is defined by that, which is wrong,
Mhm.
but you can't detach yourself from it completely because it's like a catch 22. So, yes, Jesse, help me out here.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've been conditioned, right? We've
Yeah.
been taught that is a belief that we have within ourselves. And to do anything different, there is this sense of guilt, this sense of like fear. Like if
Mm,
I don't do this, then
yeah.
I won't be
What?
successful or I won't get
Yeah.
paid,
Yeah.
right?
What if
And
I get
so
what if I get
it's a
replaced tomorrow?
right. And that's a story that we're telling ourselves, right? You're
Yeah.
still going to show up and do these things. The only difference is that now you're going to take care of yourself first. Because really, the only way that you're going to be able to show up fully and completely and refreshed and ready to do the work in a better way, in a more efficient way, is if you take care of yourself first. And you mentioned guilt. So, guilt is something that I had a lot of, and a lot of shame. And
Yeah.
it was
Well,
hard
yeah.
for me to admit that.
Yeah.
And where that came from was the way that I've been treated in the past, the things that have been said to me, the things that I've absorbed into my body and maybe forgot about. And so now that has dictated my behavior as well. And so the key to that is identifying those core beliefs. So one of my beliefs, and you mentioned it also, was like, I have to take care of everything else first, and then I can worry about myself. And the
Mm.
way that I flip that around is, okay, let me experiment with this. I'm not saying that this is how I'm going to be forever moving forward, but let's see what it's like to take care of myself first. And let's see if I can show up in a different way. Let's see what that feels
Mm.
like. Let's see
That's
what
very good.
what the outcomes are. I'm still going to do all the things that I said I was going to do, but now I'm going to take a little bit of extra time and I might rearrange my schedule so that I can take care of me first. And I'm going to do this for about a month and then see, because if you just do it for one day, you're not going to know, right? But if you do this for a few days in a row, a few weeks in a row, and then you can start to kind of see how you change. For me, I everything changed. Like the cheekbones changed for me. There was more light in my eyes. I was showing up more joyful. And I got to a point where I even threw away my to-do list and was okay.
Yeah.
Now let me
I'm starting to
experiment.
do that. I'm experimenting not to rely on my to-do list anymore.
I love
But
that.
yeah, at times I do catch myself writing because you have that fear. Okay, this is very urgent. It's important. My boss wants this. I still need to write it. But having that trust, enough trust and belief in yourself that you are going to do it. I think it's simple. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's like it's there, but it's I'm not fully grasping it yet. But I can tell, I can report to you that yes, I finally have that awareness.
I love that. That's amazing. That's really incredible. I mean, even though I threw away the to-do list, there's still things on my calendar. Like today, we showed
Yeah.
up to this podcast, right? So things that are really important that need to be done, I still put it on my calendar. But things like I need to do the dishes, I need to do laundry, I need to pick up so and so, like I just threw that away and was like, those things will get done when they're going to get done, and I'm going to focus right here in the present, because what the to-do list was doing was it was putting me into a state of anxiety
Anxiety, yes.
and
Always
into the
anticipating
future.
for yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you said also trusting yourself, right? So you're building that
Yeah.
trust within yourself. So
Yeah,
that's
to
really
like that.
beautiful.
I'm not gonna betray myself that I said I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna do it. But I trust myself that I will do it, even though, like, okay, before I used to force myself so much when I was younger. That, okay, by 3 p.m. you're gonna be done with four, for example, for at least four work. And although I was already dreading, I can't, but I still push it. And then right now it's like I'm still gonna do the four. It doesn't have to be at 3 p.m. Maybe I can finish them at night or maybe even tomorrow. I just need to prioritize.
Mhm.
So then at the same time as well, I know I need to do that. It's the awareness, but at times I feel a little bit, there's guilt there. Like we mentioned, yeah. So it's not fully there yet, but I hope I'm in the right direction.
Yeah, if I can make a recommendation, when you're feeling the guilt,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Instead of trying to push it away, maybe going inside and asking, like, where is this coming from? Right? And trying to rationalize, like, no, this is the right thing to do for me. And it's about regulating your nervous system and telling your brain that this is a new way of being and it's okay.
yeah, saying it's okay, like really, I think that's the true definition of loving yourself. It's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up if you don't get something done or if it
Hmm.
doesn't meet your expectation. Yes, okay. So I am I am comforted now.
I love it.
So Jesse, you mentioned you went into the I think you tried asking your ancestors about what were their maybe traditions and how are these traditions still actually relevant or very much so relevant in today's society. What are these traditions that can be applied in today's world?
Sorry, I had to cough for a second.
No worries.
Um, but so there's a lot of I didn't know where to start as well.
Okay.
And some of the things that came up during my journey was like doing grounding, being outside. And I feel like in society today, wherever you are in the world, we are so ingrained to just go, 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 do, go to work, come back, do the same thing every single day. We don't put enough emphasis on actually being outside and connecting with Mother Earth, talking to the plants, talking to the trees, smelling the roses, if you will. And so I started very like just by simply doing that, taking off my shoes. It's important not to have rubber underneath your feet, and most shoes have rubber in them because what happens is there are these charges that come up from Mother Earth that allow you to ground and allow you to connect. And so by putting your bare feet, even if you have socks on, your bare feet on grass or dirt, it can bring you back into your body. It can actually um, ground you in such a way that you are connected. And then I started doing little things like maybe lighting a candle and saying a prayer or saying my intentions, right? Those are things that our ancestors used to do at some point in time, right? They used to be out in nature and commune with nature. They used to connect with the fire. I
Yeah.
use a lot of the earthly elements to connect with my ancestors. So if there's wind outside, I'll go and stand in the wind and I'll ask the wind to cleanse my auric field. I will put my hands on the trees and feel into their spirit. I will, like I said, stand barefoot on Mother Earth and connect and put my roots down onto Mother Earth. And I love to connect with the fire, whether that's in the fireplace or around the campfire or with a simple candle and just staring into it. That can also be a great form of meditation, like how we were talking before. Just staring into the flame will allow you to connect as well. And so those are really simple things. And then I started to get deeper into like actually speaking with my ancestors on the other side and just asking. Like my grandmother just recently passed away last year.
I'm so
And so I
sorry
would
to hear.
thank you. I would pray and I would ask her for guidance and I would ask her for prayers and I would pray for her, right? And even though there isn't a physical answer that comes back, there's ideas that come up. And I had this idea to start a little garden. And so I started to work with plants. And she used to love to sew, and so I would sew. My grandpa used to love to cook, and so every time I'm in the kitchen, I think about my grandpa. Every time I do a cacao ceremony, so every morning when I do my cacao, I think about my ancestors and I ask for healing within my heart to heal and to show up with compassion and love for myself and for others. So there are little things that you can start to do, and then that will evolve into ideas and other things. You're gonna get these transmissions, or you're gonna get these it's going to be shown to you in what is the right thing for you to do. And these are things that you can do by yourself, but also if you have family members that you can ask about stories of grandparents and great grandparents, you're going to start to kind of see little things like,
Connect the dots.
yeah, when my grandma passed, we would sit around and talk about like traditions and like things that she used to do and prayers that she used to say. And then we would even talk about her mom and how she used to have like these types of like potions that she used to make. Like there's something called Florida water. I'm sure people have heard of it. And my great grandma used to make her own Florida water, and I'm like, oh my God, I make my own Florida water. That's kind of crazy type of
Sorry,
thing.
what's okay? I've never heard of it. Is it like kind of
Yeah,
a
so Florida water is you can probably Google it and it'll come up. But Florida water is like this water that you make that is used for cleansing. So instead of like sage or smoke,
sage? Okay, okay. So
yeah,
we.
you can actually use Florida water and bless your home and cleanse your home.
Mm,
Well, I use it on myself to cleanse myself and remove any energy that's not mine and things like that. So, and apparently that was a tradition that we've had in my family for a really long time. And it's something my parents used to always have around at home. So that's where I got the inspiration from and where I knew it from, but I didn't know my great grandma used to make her own. And so that was really cool to learn. And even in your culture, like there's a lot of cultural things that you can look back in history and see, like certain dances, certain music, certain songs that you can connect to. So, like for me, I have a whole playlist of songs that have been sang throughout all of South America because my family's from South America or Central America-ish. Um, so they're from Panama. So Panama's not part of South or Central America. They're just their own thing because they're independent. Anyways, um, so uh, there are so many ways to be able to connect in modern day
mm,
to our ancestry and to the wisdom that they brought with them.
wow. My grandmother, she was, I would say she was pretty I would say she was a ritualistic individual as well, but she passed on when I was very young. But I remember because growing up, my mother would tell me something and then she would make reference about something
Mm.
to her. So it's like I would be remembered. So I think at this point where I am right now, I know we're continuing to evolve. I do feel like I'm closer to her at some. I think so. Yeah, like
I
I
love
do.
that. Yeah.
I ask like whenever there are things that I don't know how to process or how to move forward. I before I used to think like, okay, I can do this by myself. I don't need help. I don't even tell my parents because I don't want them to worry. But it's okay to actually connect, and if because my parents, I I don't live with them. They're a phone call away, but still, you kind of need that something like a guardian. So it's like a guardian angel, or also can be your ancestor. So however you want to portray them as. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, that's my story.
I
So
love
okay,
it.
yeah, you also mentioned that, I think, I don't know if this is in one of your episodes, unlocking the joy in unlocking joy in the everyday, right? So I know you mentioned about um, some of the meditative tools and practices that you actually recommend to your client or your friends. So, how is this, in your opinion, going to help them in their pursuit of personal growth and overall happiness?
Yeah, I think when you have the intention of bringing more joy into your life, it shows up, right? Whether you're looking for it or being intentional yourself about it. But when you ask for that, I think that it will show up because there is this whole theory in our spiritual community around your thoughts form your reality. And the more and more I dig into that, the because all everything that I do is grounded in science. I like to look at studies, I like to read books on people that have studied this heavily or whatever it is that I'm doing. Like I looked at a bunch of studies with Reiki and energy healing before I got into it. And so I think with the mere intention of showing up and wanting to bring in joy and to live your life in joy, it will show up. However, like I said before, in order to change, you actually have to change who you are. And so if you're constantly thinking about the negativity, thinking about the other shoe dropping, or like, things are too good right now, something's gonna happen
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't
Like,
deserve all of these lucky streaks in my life right now. Like, some bad things are bound to happen one of these days.
right? And like as
Yeah,
soon as
yes.
you say that, that's what's going to happen inevitably. You're going to be correct. And so I think, as you could tell, my whole thing is about experimenting with your life, right? Like experiment new ways. And so I would say try to do like a negativity detox. Anytime you find yourself complaining, recognize it, be mindful about it, and then change that story immediately as soon as you find yourself doing that. As soon as you start being judgmental or, you know, saying all these things about like I don't deserve or something's going to happen soon, recognizing that and changing, purposely change that story. Like, no, I deserve happiness. I deserve joy. I deserve walking through this earth with full and complete sovereignty and joy. So you'll see kind of that change, and it's going to feel uncomfortable because our minds, the way that they're programmed with our egos, is
Yeah.
it wants to keep us safe. And
Yes.
so this is how we've learned to be in the world, to complain, to judge, to like feel like we don't deserve things. And so in order to make that fundamental change, you got to stop your brain from saying those things, recognize what you're saying, and then have something ready to replace it. So as soon as I'm thinking the other shoe's going to drop, it's like, no, no, no. Like, okay, I actually deserve to be happy. I actually deserve to have this, to be lucky. I am lucky. I am a lucky person. And then seeing how you move through the world and seeing what it is that happens next, right? And letting those old stories go.
Magnificent. Yeah, I think you just helped me confirm some of the insecurities that I have. And it's not. I think it's not just for me. I think a lot of people do experience that, but they just don't
Yeah.
want to say it out.
Yeah, or
So
they don't realize it, right? Because we're such
yeah,
an automatic mode. Like we haven't thought about doing anything different because we're just an autopilot, and that's okay. But again, if you just found this episode, this might be a
yeah,
sign for you where it's
yeah,
time to do something a little bit different and start experimenting, right? And we're human beings, so you're going to go back to your old ways. You're
I
gonna
love that.
backslide all the
Human
time,
being.
right? And
Yeah,
but it's about recognizing it because the more and more you recognize it and then you make a change, the shorter and shorter these backslide happen. So it's starting that change, right? Not beating ourselves up or feeling guilty for, oh, I'm not supposed to be negative. Oh, I'm still thinking this way. Yeah, of course you are. Like your brain's trying to keep you safe. Like that's a
yeah.
natural thing. It's about recognizing it and then stepping in and formulating a different story.
I want to talk about the career since I still have a 9 to 5 and you're still working as well.
Yeah.
So right now, I have been the person who's been big into chasing to be at least at the pinnacle of my career. But um, I have since shifted my focus into spirituality. But I do not want to let go of that pursuit. But at the same time, I also want to be a light worker. So can a person be that? Can you be successful, but at the same time you be in tune with your true self? When I say true self, with your higher self, like how does that? How can one achieve that equilibrium? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely feel like both can be achieved. I think that we're so trained on like you have to pick one thing and that's your
yeah,
one thing.
yeah,
And that's not necessarily true. I see a lot of people that want to go into spirituality, but also need to make the money, need to live in society,
yes,
right? And they're trying to figure out how to make that transition. But my whole thing is like, you don't actually have to be one or the other. You can be both things and integrate both things. But like I said, if you are in the corporate world or in a 9 to 5 and you know or you think you know what it is that needs to happen to be the best that you can be, a lot of the spirituality stuff is going to fall to the wayside. And so what my recommendation would be like to take a little bit of time to make things efficient on the corporate side or in your 9 to 5 and just be at that level for a little bit while
mm,
you're then focusing on your spirituality and making changes to your energy, changes into who you are and being the most authentic self that you can be, and then coming back and like stepping it up. Because once you make the changes on the spirituality side and you're changing your energy, things are going to change on the job front. So I'll give you an example. For me, my job required me to be on 6 days a week, 15-hour days, sometime 18-hour days. It was insane. And so I really took the time and started doing like pandemic was great for me because I took the time to really focus inward and make all these changes at an energetic level. And then my job started to shift. People at my job started to shift as well. Like once you start healing yourself, when you start making the changes within yourself, you start to see everybody else around you also make changes. And so, what I had asked for during my time of up leveling and changing my energy was I need my job to be a normal job where I can work 8 to 10 hours. 10 hours is fine and I can still have time for my spiritual stuff. And things started to shift in that way. Things started to kind of fall into place. And now I no longer work more than 10 hours a day. And I also have time for my spirituality. And I also changed my morning routine. And like I said before, I started to take better care of myself. That is the key. Taking care of yourself will then bring in this certain balance. And there's this saying that they say everybody should meditate at least 15 hours a day. And when you're busy, you need to meditate an
20.
hour.
I,
And it doesn't make any sense because if you're
yeah,
busy or
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have any
I'm gonna
time,
ask you again.
but
Like,
I
can you break
promise
that?
you, if you
Okay.
did that, it changes everything. It changes everything because I've done that. It's like, oh my God, I'm really busy. I have like back to backs all day, but hold on. I have an hour here. Let me go ahead and meditate. And it has changed my entire day. Things start to fall away. Things start to get into place. Things aren't as anxiety driven or stressful. And what does that tell you? Because I've prioritized myself, I've prioritized my spirituality, everything else fell into place. So again, what I would say to that is experimenting, right? Making sure that you're doing the things that you need to do at work, but also carving out enough time to take care of yourself and learn new things in your spirituality. And then you're going to start to kind of see that equilibrium.
Brilliant. Okay. So those listeners that are listening out there, please heed to this advice. Let us all learn together.
And it's
Oh,
possible. It is totally possible. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect every single day because it's not.
yeah, yeah.
There are
Like,
days where I have to absolutely do a lot at work and that's fine and but then I do take time out. Maybe it's at the end of the day, maybe it's during my shower, even during my shower, like I'll do a mini meditation. I do incorporate like my spirituality practices are so embedded in me that it feels weird not to do it. It's like brushing your teeth every single day. Like it just feels weird not to do it, right? So, it's about cultivating new habits that you really want in your life and sticking to them.
and it's about the simple things. You don't even need to make it very big to start.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so maybe a few more questions before we end. Okay, so how do you see the role of divination in today's society, and how has it helped you personally in your journey?
Yeah, so divination is really, tarot cards, oracle cards,
Love it,
pendulums.
love it.
Um,
I
it
went
can
into
also,
that too.
yeah, it can also be, just speaking to the divine, speaking to your spirit team, right? And I think it's a really great way for guidance. And because a lot of the times for me, I just feel so alone. I haven't felt that way in a really long time, but I used to feel very alone, even though I was surrounded by people. I have my
Yeah.
parents, I have my husband. I don't, can't necessarily talk to them because they all problem solve. And I don't need my problems to be solved. I just
I just
need
need
somebody
an
to
ear. Yeah.
listen, right? And so sometimes I will consult my tarot cards. Sometimes I will do the pendulum. So, and the more and more I would do divination, now I have this practice of being able to just speak directly to my spirit guides and just know the answer because the answers are within you.
Yes.
That took a lot of practice, and so incorporating that into your everyday, incorporating that into what you do for guidance or what you do to kind of see different options can be very helpful for many because I know that when I consult the tarot cards or the oracle cards, I'm able to kind of see what's coming down or where I'm at in a different way of communicating or a different way of having a conversation. And then you also have the option to change those outcomes
Because at the end of
because
the day, it's free will.
It's free will, yeah. And so I think it's a great way if you're able, if you're open to it, and because a lot of this can be a little bit out there. It could be too
Taboo.
woo for people,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But there are a lot of oracle cards out there, like angel cards and things that
Mm-hmm.
are specifically made and intended for you to have guidance and for you to have like the best outlook moving forward. And so I, again, it's all around experimentation and feeling and looking at what feels good. Tarot cards are all the same, but oracle cards are all different. And so
Yeah.
going out and looking at what oracle cards suit you the best. I also have a video on my website in my blog section about pendulums and how to use a pendulum. Pendulums is a lot like muscle testing. I don't know if any of you have actually muscle tested. A lot of doctors use this nowadays, or chiropractors use this a lot. Where, for example, if I'm looking at a new supplement, like let's say I'm trying to do a new vitamin,
Yeah.
I hold the vitamin to my stomach and then I see which way my body sways. And my body might say, yes, this is the right supplement for me, or no, this is not the right supplement for me. Because there have been times where, like, I'll take like vitamin K or something and it just doesn't, I don't do well with it. And so before I take it, I can do a little bit of divination by muscle testing. You can look up muscle testing on the internet and how to do that, and it my body will tell me whether it's good or not. I had a client who she wasn't feeling well, and I had this kind of notion or idea that it might be something that she ate. And so I
Mm.
asked her, "What did you eat recently?" And she said salmon. And I had salmon in the fridge. And so I held the salmon to her stomach and I asked, and I did the process to muscle test her, and sure enough, she's allergic to salmon. So you're
Um,
able to use these tools to be able to understand your body better, to understand yourself better, and to get to know yourself better. Like a lot of the times we've been told who we are, but we've
yeah,
never really experimented with who are we actually. And so divination can be used to like just have a deeper discovery into who you are.
I love that. Because I started my tarot as well, and well, some were skeptical, some were like, oh, okay, let's see. Nicolette knows how to read it, so let me ask. So true enough, I stuck around. It's like just exactly what you said. It's like I just needed a message from somebody, anybody, and I found it in tarot. And now I've moved beyond tarot, and now I'm actually speaking to people. This is
Oh,
one
I
reason
love that.
why I started podcasting as well.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
You have a podcast too yourself, right?
I do, yeah. I have two of them. So I have Beyond Meditation, which is with a co-host, and right now we're not recording. We only record like 4 or 5 months out of the year, and I miss it so much because I love being in community and I love learning from other healers and people. So I have a YouTube channel called Sacred Arts where I talk to different people, everything from the practical to the sacred. And for example, I had a sex coach come on a couple weeks ago, and we talked
Oh,
about
I need that.
the power of self-pleasure and the
Yeah.
power of exploring yourself. And then I had somebody come on last week or this week to talk about cleansing your home and
Mhm.
organizing your home and what that feels like and how that affects you psychologically. And I thought that was really wonderful. But then I have other very spiritual people. I'm having somebody come and talk about their near death experience and what
Wow.
that was like. So I'm really excited about that because I'm really into like researching, and I actually look at the Institute of um, Association of Near Death Experiences, and I've been listening to a lot of people talk about it, and it's so fascinating to me. And so yeah, check it out. I'm really excited for
Definitely.
that new channel and all the things that we're talking about there.
Sacred arts. Okay, I'm gonna follow that after our call.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are a few I really because some of the questions that you posted are actually really, really relevant. So I'm just gonna ask you for the benefit of the listeners. Yeah.
Sure.
Um. Yeah. So, how do you strike a balance between the wisdom of ancient spiritual traditions and the demand of our modern lives? How do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about having this like balance, right? And having so like understanding what works for me in terms of like connecting to my spirituality and incorporating that into my everyday. So I still take meetings, I'm still out in social media, I'm still a participant in my community, right? But I no longer just get up, look at my phone, go to work and come back and do it all over again, right? I am actually out and what do you call that? Connecting with people. I'm actually out there talking to people. And at the same time, I'm also taking really, really good care of myself. And so I use the divination. I use the cacao to connect with my ancestors because cacao is a very ancient ceremony practice in South America, right? And this is stuff that my ancestors used to do and they things that they used to drink as well. And I also use supplements to help me connect, things like silica and hishuwu and things that will help regulate my body. I also use the power of like setting intentions. Some people might say that looks like prayer. So if prayer is something that you do, that's a way to connect to your ancient wisdom as well by asking God or creator or your ancestors or your spirit team, right? Meditation is a really great way to connect to your ancient wisdom and your inner self while you're still operating in this world. So
Well,
those are a few
you
ways.
still have a body.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I always remember, like, okay, if I'm chasing so much, but at the end of the day, I know it's the soul that matters. So what for am I chasing? But then I remember, okay, you're here because you are here to experience being human. So
absolutely. Absolutely. But how do you balance that, right? Because most
yes,
people has never even acknowledged the soul within them,
they,
right? And
it's
an
like
easy
they
way,
have, yeah, they're a body and they have a soul. It's not like you're a soul and you have a body. Yeah, it's supposed to
right?
be the other way around. Yes.
Exactly. So one easy way to do that is actually just stare into your eyes in the mirror. Connect with
Really?
that inner part of yourself. Yeah, most people don't do that or won't do that. It can be a little bit off-putting, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that is a way and so that's another way to like build up confidence and self-worth because you're actually seeing who you are through your eyes.
Oh
They
my
say the
god.
eyes are the
Because the
windows of the
eyes are
soul, right?
windows to your soul. Yes.
So connecting with yourself in that way and even going deeper into meditation and talking to your soul and acknowledging that your soul is there. She or he will bring you like will show you your ancient wisdom and how to operate in this world. We're all here in this moment in time for a purpose. And so it's not about going all the way into spirituality and like living in the forest or whatever, although I have
Yeah.
fantasized about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
But I
leaving it all
chose to
behind.
come
I'm gonna
here.
go and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
but we
off
all
the radar.
chose, yeah, we all chose to come here in this moment in time to do something in this moment in time. And so it's about recognizing your soul and at the same time honing your gifts, honing your skills, and showing up in the best way that you can for your community.
Beautiful. What a way to wrap our session today. So before you go, Jesse, I would like you to maybe share with the world if you have a quote that you would like to leave as your legacy, what would it be?
Yeah, my favorite quote, I don't even know where it came from. I think it was just something that I was thinking about probably something that I was studying at the time is the key to manifesting, the key to having all of your dreams is in your energy. So if you change your energy, you change your reality. And so it's really about, again, experimenting. It's about getting to know yourself, taking care of yourself, and raising your vibrations to a point that you're matching the vibration of your dreams, the vibration of what you're trying to manifest. And yeah, that's what I'd like to leave your listeners with.
Thank you. I stand by it by myself, and I think this has been a wonderful, wonderful chat with you, Jesse. I
Of
hope
course.
to follow your. I definitely would follow and your podcast and your YouTube channel. Definitely. I hope this is not going to be the first time, the only time you're going to be on my show, because I do have. I don't know, but this is going to evolve. Maybe some other time I'm gonna, and if you can, come up to the show and we'll talk about something else.
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. I'd also like to tell your listeners I've developed a course called Master Your Boundaries.
Okay.
Um, and so that's another really great topic that we can maybe talk about in the future,
Yes.
because boundaries are, it's such an elusive word. What does that mean? How
What
do
does
I
that?
get them?
Yeah,
How do I
exactly.
maintain it? And so I have a 10-week course starting September 7th, every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It will also be recorded for anybody that can't show up at that time. And it's about really having the space and time to understand what your boundaries are and what they are and how to maintain them. And it's just in time for the holidays so that you
Yeah.
can practice the boundaries that you have set and that you have learned about yourself. And so it's going to be September 7th through November 9th. It's a 10-week course.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll be sure to include that when I post your this episode up.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Jesse, for your time, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Nicolette. I hope you have
Thank
a
you,
great
Jesse.
day,
You.
and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.